guys?
1, 2, 3. We don't need it. 1, 2, 3.
I want to know about John's coat.
My
All I
coat?
want to know about is John's coat right now.
Yeah, the one that everyone keeps saying is a robe. It's
Smoking jacket.
it's just a sweater, and that I've had for a while. And since it's cold in Michigan, I've been putting it on. I've been doing the college professor thing of putting like a very nice T-shirt under it. This one is a bass playing samurai.
Dude, that's
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey, where is your scarf?
my scarf.
Where's your scarf?
Yeah, we
What
don't
are you
have
kind
that.
of, you're like from Boston? Scott.
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah,
scarf?
where's your scarf? Come on. You need a scarf with that.
Maybe that'll be next season.
You have a Hugh Hefner vibe going on right now.
Yes, you do. It's
We just need Jen around you in the background. Sorry, Jen.
Yeah. Thing is, she would totally play up to it.
Oh, I know she would. And then she'd yell at me in person.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Yeah, I know.
and you'd have to wear the helmet to protect yourself from getting hit in the head.
Right.
Noggin.
Hey, if you want to see the helmets, folks, all right, you have to wait till the end of the video, okay?
Till the end.
No, Steve. No showing the helmet early.
Nope, don't be a tease. Don't be a
Don't be a
helmet tease.
tease.
No showing the helmet early. You know what happens when you.
You didn't get dinner yet.
That's
Don't
gonna
show the
be-
helmet right away.
Could be in your T-shirt. No showing the helmet early.
Don't show your helmet early.
That's. I like that title. So Dig by Terry was, I think the record's called
Helmet?
Java Spice Chronicles, but I kind of like Don't Show Your Helmet.
Don't show your helmet early.
Don't show your helmet early.
Yeah.
You can't prematurely show the helmet.
Yeah. So
All right. So yeah.
we have Rodney today.
Rodney McG. Yep.
Rodney McG,
McLaughlin.
a great guy.
What we're just calling him.
Mm-hmm.
So what
Great
episode?
player.
We need the intro.
This is Double Deuce, episode 22.
22.
Of the big
Yeah.
boss.
Where if it was an age, there's really nothing exciting about turning 22. We're just waiting 3 more episodes until we can get really cheap car insurance or can rent cars.
Or rent cars. That changes everything.
That changes everything.
When you can rent cars and your insurance goes down, boy,
You
it's
have
nice.
to be 25 to rent,
Most
Yeah.
places. Mm-hmm.
and the insurance going down is bullshit. That doesn't happen when you're 25. It's
That
like-
does.
In Massachusetts, it does.
In Michigan, it goes down
Michigan.
quite a bit.
Maybe I just am a troubled child and they never gave me the.
But you live in California. Everything's expensive over there,
There's
Steve.
another set of rules in California, my friend.
As we're finding out.
Steve, let's see the shirt. It's jujitsu. So we all have our wardrobe today.
Mm-hmm.
Jiu-jitsu. John has the Hue coat on, right?
And Tony, Troy Lee Designs. That's a cool.
Nice.
Now, is that one of your jerseys, riding jerseys?
It's a riding jersey, yeah.
You just thought to wear just because?
Well, maybe it's cold and he wanted to do it.
Maybe it's cold or maybe it's
So
51
here's
in
the
your
deal about
place.
these. I wear these all the time out now.
Is it 51 degrees in your place and you don't?
It was 51 earlier today.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And then what is the temp right now? Hold on, I want to tell you right now.
Are you blasting? Your,
I'm like the old man. How do I find this temperature on this
The Weather Channel.
Yep.
Are you blasting your heater in your house?
Nope. It is 46 out there right now.
Oh,
Yeah, we're sitting at 40.
it's pretty
Steve,
freaking cold over here, guys.
Oh, I'm sure. Where's it at? 72, Steve?
54. Outside, 71 inside.
I have no idea what the temperature is inside, but
Well,
outside it's
I'm
46.
71. I have 71 because I have my heater on.
Oh,
You have your heater on.
Of course I do. Yes. 54. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm wearing a long sleeve and an undershirt
Excuse me.
because I'm cold.
John!
Freezing.
What do you have to say about this, John?
Steve would die.
I would
in
die.
Either of our states. Just die.
Again.
He would get out of the plane. It'd be like this.
Oh,
Welcome to Grand Rapids, Michigan.
and then I would shatter. And I've traveled. I've been all over. I'm telling you, layer. I just am yeah.
What's the coldest place you've ever been to?
Or you would show up to our place, Tony, dressed like the younger brother in Christmas Story.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally would. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I've been in cold places. I've been in Lake Louise, Canada, midwinter. That's pretty cold.
I mean, I guess maybe Canada. Yeah.
What do you mean maybe Canada? It's Banff. Banff.
Ooh, you went up there.
I went up to Banff. Lake Louise, gorgeous.
What was the temp? What was the temp?
It was fucking winter. It was like fucking snow everywhere. Below 32. I mean, it was cold. It was cold, man. I am not built for cold. Just not. This is what it is.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
We won't really judge you.
Really?
Much.
No, I don't care. I don't care. My well-being is more important than what people's opinion is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part of me? Yeah. Anyway.
It's okay. It's all right, Steve.
All right.
So we had Rodney on today.
We
We have a new sponsor that will help keep us warm.
Yes.
Tony.
Donnybrook Coffee. Now, Eric, I apologize. I have the bags upstairs, but I'll be showing the bags and the logo on here. And Donnybrook Coffee out of Peabody, Massachusetts.
And how's that spelled? D-O-N-N-Y? Donnie?
Yeah.
Donnybrook. Okay. And then
Donnybrook Coffee.
Okay. Donnybrook.
Another musician
Nice.
coffee guy. Yeah.
Even better.
Nice. And we'll put pictures and links. I'll hunt them down. Little website, but they're a new sponsor. We love it, man. I can't wait to.
Oh yeah, coffee on the way to these guys. Boom.
Nice.
To John and Steve.
So I can be
Fantastic.
warm and not freeze to death in 71-degree heat in my house. No, but that was fun. Rodney McG, great guy. Does a fantastic job showcasing bases, but in the middle,
I think he's got one of the most interesting channels out there on YouTube right now.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is in the metal realm, like he's found his niche there, you know, and he does a fucking great job, man.
For actual metal,
Yeah.
you know, I think he's like really one of the top guys. I really do. And what's funny is I'm about to say something like a contradictory statement. I don't like a lot of distortion and overdrive on bass. I'm going to preference that as I am a dark glass artist, but I use it in a very particular way. I love their pedals, but I use it extremely light, just a little bit of like. I feel too much of a good thing is, you know, it's killing. It's like, okay, well, you know, let's put sugar in the red sauce. You know what I mean? Pour a bag in it. You know, no. So a lot of people kind of abuse it, and he is one of the players that I think is extremely tasteful with overdrive, man.
He understands it. He gets it, you know? He really, because I'm on the other, I don't use it, and it's not my thing, but I respect it. It's like, wow, that's good, you know? Does a great job with it, man. It's great. And his videos are always great. They sound great. They look great. I mean, for me, that's just production value. It's like, again,
and he's well spoken and he explains everything.
Don't just take your fucking phone and expect it to sound good just with that. Like, put some effort, and he's really put effort. You know, I like the smirking. So yeah, I put effort. Like, try to get better. Try to be good, and he does a great job of it. So in all aspects, I like that.
Well, I guess on with the show here, right?
Show people. All right, that's it. Big Bottom. I'll start.
Bottom.
Steve Arajo.
Tony Paleo,
John Moody.
AKA
J-Mod. Wait.
J-Mod? What?
J-Mod is your professor look, you know?
That's not professor look.
J-Mod or J-Mood? J-Mood.
No, J-Mod all
J-Mod.
the way because it's got a 60s vibe. It just needs
I just came up with that. Top of my head. Head hurts now. Wait.
Probably because it's cold.
It is. I'm freezing. My feet are cold. J-Mod. All right. That's what I'm going to put as your little thing under here.
Nice.
J-Mod. All right, everybody. Big Bottom, episode 22. Thanks for watching.
22.
Bye.
Hi, what's up?
Hello.
Big Bottom episode 22 and in this today, he's right below me. I don't know where he is with you guys.
Still right there.
He's here.
Rodney MCG, the hard rock metal guru, right with us today.
Yes.
Oh, I appreciate the invite, guys. Very cool.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
Absolutely. So what's on the agenda for today?
I want to talk about a story.
Steve
How we
keeping his
met.
internet. That's what's on the agenda.
Oh yeah, Steve's internet.
This is our take 2. We had
All right,
Nice.
so just to tell everybody, this is
Gotta-
the second version of this. We tried to do this the other day.
we had a
and
big
Steve's-
internet brownout at work.
I
so-
mean, you could say since you were in Leo's lounge, the big guy maybe just didn't like talking about Schechter.
yeah, he just
Yeah.
didn't like it. So
It was part that and part that we just know he hates metal. I mean, he was like, "Don't let that crap come out of one of my bases. I just don't want to hear it."
Yeah, if you look at the lineage, you got Fender up there. Does Schecter fall somewhere? Like someone from Fender may have left and started some company, and then, or I don't know. I might be talking out of my Italian butt, but
well, Schechter started in LA as like a super custom, like they were one of the first, like,
Yeah, weren't they like one of the first parts companies you
Yeah.
could get?
yeah.
in like
License-
Hollywood or
well,
something like that.
Yeah, and they actually licensed. They did it legally back in the day. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure that they've had licensed parts for Fenders and were one of the first companies. Pat Wilkins worked for them. I think that's where he.
Yeah,
one of
Pat
the-
was a Schecter guy, so
Yeah.
they're a weird kind of accepted stepchild.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah. I mean, I think they were definitely up there with like the original, like replacement. Before
Mhm.
Warmoth and all parts, and even built some back in the day some stuff for. I want to say that some. Some of those famous 70s, 80s like session guys from the West Coast
Oh yeah.
played that stuff for sure, so it's got a real good lineage.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Even
say.
back the original, the first set of pickups, the original customs they did, that was all Anderson.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was, so it's kind of funny. I tried some of his, and they're just basically tweaks on what he did back at the original custom shop. And,
Wow.
it's when you had all that stuff, and what was it, like Performance and all those
Yes.
companies back
Yeah,
then
yeah.
building the custom hot rodded stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw some history questions at Rodney then about Schecter. Didn't one of Pete Townsend's techs have something to do with having the company go from just parts to creating full guitars? Like there was that's what something along those lines where one of the Who tours, one of their I think it was one of their last tours really, like as like in their heyday in the 80s. Pete went on the road, instead of all the Les Pauls, he had a bunch of Schecter Tellys, black
Yeah.
Schecter Tellys, like
Mhm.
10 of them or something ridiculous like that. And I thought it was his tech had something to do with it, but you would probably know 100 times more than
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm unfortunately not the knower of all things Schecter history, especially past a certain point. But as far as I know, I mean, I know he really was kind of steady with that Telly model, and it got reissued again later. But yes, I wouldn't know if that was the real impetus behind it or whatnot. It would seem a little strange to me, just because in just design and aesthetic, when it seems like they really pushed forward as a company, it wasn't that style.
Mm-hmm.
So that would just be my basic observation on it. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, but at the same time, it's hard for me to see a direct line there.
So, for the folks that don't know, your role at Schecter, what are you doing with them?
I don't work at Schecter. I
Okay,
don't
yeah.
do anything there. Been in Dorsey for a long time.
Okay.
And we just have a good relationship.
Cool.
At that point, I'm not under, like official endorsement
Yeah.
or anything like that. I've been using their bases for quite a while and that kind of thing. So it's been mostly me talking with them about their stuff and, just using their stuff, and I've enjoyed it and things, but I don't have like an official role with the company. I just happen to have seemed to have up to this point minorly cornered the market on demo and review on their basis. So
Cool. Yeah, yeah. And you do a great job, man. Fantastic. It's awesome.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
genuinely.
Yeah, you actually do reviews that put the instrument in a light where somebody could be like, oh, okay, I understand what this instrument will do and what it could do for me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a big road to hoe there. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a little relationship with Schecter, but again, not an official endorsee, what have you.
Mhm.
And it was kind of a little funny story. We can tie in how we met you, actually, Rodney.
Mhm.
You know, I had a couple of instances from them that I was gigging and so forth, and I'm like, there really wasn't any good reviews. I mean, I already knew what I liked and wanted, but you know, you check out like, oh, who's using this, and I'm like, there was one guy that I saw like playing the fuck out of it that sounded great, and that was Rodney, and I don't even think I could see his face in some of the videos, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw him, and then when I came up to you and I met you, the three of us met you at the Schecter tour. I was like, oh, I feel like I already know this guy. I just came up and said, hey man, how you doing? And introduced myself and the whole 9 yards.
And that's how the restraining order happened.
Yeah.
That's what happened to all of us.
Yeah.
But that's what we're like, Tony.
Yeah, just this guy. Okay.
Hey, what are you drinking? Oh, you got a little French press, a little coffee.
Look
Nice.
at
Oh, Donnybrook coffee.
Man after my own heart here.
There you go.
You guys have some coming out.
That's our new people, huh? Our new.
Donnybrook coffee, yeah. It's
Nice.
it's very relatively well. Rodney, what are you drinking for coffee? What's your favorite? What's your favorite roast?
I'm actually an espresso guy.
Mm,
It basically
how
is
sophisticated.
any espresso done so heavy that you can finally stand a spoon up in it.
So you like dark roast.
I like road tar, basically.
Road tar.
Nice.
Is it.
So
Yeah.
that's like Turkish coffees like that too, and so
Well,
forth.
Turkish coffee is actually the ground so fine that they actually stir it in.
Yeah.
That's Turkish coffee. It's actually the grounds.
Mhm.
It's so fine,
And
they
then
stir them
They
in,
turn it up. They drink the cup and they turn it upside down, and supposedly
and
can
then you're like,
they read the fortune from like the grinds doing the thing. Yeah.
so, Rodney, do you do French press, pour over? What do you do? What do you like?
I have a one of those full ridiculous size
Oh.
machines that does like the circular brew and everything.
So okay. So you're chemist. You're the chemistry.
Oh yeah, I actually have an IV. It
Dude.
just goes like I just
Like
load
right
it up in the
there.
morning, tap in.
nice.
Everybody thinks I just got out of the hospital when they
Yeah.
come to my house, and it's just me rolling around with the coffee.
Nice, dude. That's cool, man.
But,
So for me, your videos, like they're just great, and the hardest thing I think to really, what should I say, like really capture the sound and the show on the internet, especially like YouTube. I mean, YouTube's the biggest, so
Mhm.
that's what we all use. It's Google and all that. Is just getting a good bass sound through that, and
Yeah.
you do. I mean, it's great. What's your process there? What do you use interface wise, recording wise? I'm curious for myself. Just
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, I tried to make it as simple as possible and pare down as much
Cool.
as I could because I don't always want to shoot at the same place. Like sometimes I just want to get out of the studio and have a different background, or every once in a while I'll green screen something or something
Cool.
like that. So I wanted to make sure I had something different from my usual larger interface,
Mhm.
and one that I knew worked with my laptops, my Windows Surface, and that kind of thing.
Oh,
Strangely enough, and it tells you how you can't always go by brand name, I just got one of the 4-input Behringer units.
dude. It's great.
And it's
Yeah.
got 4 mic inputs,
Wow.
and they actually sounded better than my Focusrite. So
Very cool.
I just went with it. Depending on how worried I am, or I think critical is the voice quality, I'll either just go off the camera mic. I've got a decent Sony setup with a hot shoe on it. Or if I think like it's a really loud, ringy room, then I'll put a separate mic up out of the scene a bit.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I just go direct into the unit. And so then I've got the DI, and this helped me out a lot once I was able to get this process down, was I'll have usually like some kind of amp sim going where I'm recording and I can hear through the monitors across the room, but I'm recording the DI. And then if I don't like how the amp sim is done or something just sounds weird or something, I can EQ and change it.
Nice.
Then I bounce them together and time lock them when I go to edit. So I've got a good separated bass track.
That's cool.
From outside of there. And I use a lot of IR stuff.
Sure.
So I've already got an IR of the Mesa 412 Powerhouse cab that I use. So I don't always have to mic it. I've already got it mic'd exactly how I want to hear it. And it's consistent through my videos that way too. It's not like, oh, it was a little off today. So if I'm doing a back-to-back comparison, you're always hearing it as if it was coming through the same mic at the same point in the cab. That way,
that's cool.
I feel like it gives a bit more of an honest reflection, especially after a number of preamps over several months or something. You can kind of go, oh, it's going through that same thing. So I'm getting an exact example of how if I was just swapping through all of these, it would be an A/B comparison.
Did you make the IR yourself?
I did.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan now. Huge fan of them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a revolution. Once I got into them, I just went, yeah, I can't live without it anymore.
That's how I feel. I just discovered it where, I'm tracking for my own record just recently. It's coming up. We're just doing the pre-production now. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I do this more on the fly? Like where I just use 2 channels because I usually use 3. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to mic up everywhere. And I know I might be in some environments where it's going to be tighter. So I'm always going to use the Ready. I'm always going to use the Tube Ready. And I just like how big it sounds on tape. But it doesn't always have that amp sound. So I started playing with the IRs and I'm like, whoa. I was able to get, within 1 day of playing with it. To quote my guitar player, he said, you get 95% of what your on-stage sound is like right now. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. I might play more to get it as close as I possibly can.
One thing that really helped me out with that too, and that I think really, because I'm kind of a tone psycho with my own stuff. I must be the most horrible person on earth to work with in a sound environment because, as my old engineer said, you could hear a mouse get a hard on 4 floors down. It's like, if there's something even minorly wrong, I'm going to go nuts about it. And so what I started doing is when I would do the IRs, I would actually sit and get like a 30 band EQ and just go in and notch and get everything exactly where I would want to hear it.
Wow.
Dial down that real high end click so I can bring up the high mids a little more without getting that extended fret whack on top of it, that kind of thing, a little more bottom punch around 120, those type of things, and I'll dial them in. Then when I create the IR, it goes through that EQ out to my cab. So now my perfect EQ setting is baked into my speaker IR. So by loading my cabinet, my absolute ideal EQ is baked into it too. So if I go front to house, it's like I'm out at the board getting every little notch exactly where I would want it. And I don't have to sit there, back and forth with a sound guy or something, trying to get it dialed in just right. I can go just plug this in.
Yeah.
Interesting on that. I don't mean to bogart here, guys, but I just want to pick Rodney's brain on this. So you configured what you think is just right with a 30 band EQ, but when you add that to the mix with like say low guitars and like big drums, when you're talking about 120, so let's say you had a real tight 24-inch kick drum, it's like getting into the frequency range that he's using too. So do you feel like you have to retweak at all if you already have like such a tweaked sound going in?
I don't, because I always get my sound with instruments, not solo. I think it's kind of the dead man's quest. If you go and, it's kind of the reason why every guitar player seems to have a scoop sound. It sounds great at home in your bedroom, but it's crap once you get out there. Because being, the kind of Trent Reznor of my own project and everything, I dictate the recording process and everything. So I know how all the sounds fit together. I dial them in myself. I do all the guitar parts and everything anyway. So my guitar parts are done the same way. So they're already married together. It's like I've notched it so that, okay, I know 120 hertz is what drops the floor out right underneath of where I'll give the guitar some punch at maybe 250 to give it some low mids and some oomph in palm muting. And like I've already kind of assembled it like a puzzle piece. So if we go straight out with gear and it's already been tuned that way, it basically sounds like a reproduction of the recorded sound.
What are you doing for your kick drum then? Because you're in that kick drum territory too. You're boosting around 80 or 90 hertz.
I just mute it.
Screw this guy. Boop.
Kick drum.
No, it's one of those things where I just kind of move around it. It depends on the type of the song and everything. And I've always kind of gone with the I forget the engineer who said it, but he was always like, you can either have bass or the kick drum that's going to control the low end, and you can't have both. So if I want a really massive sound or we're doing really heavy but slower material, that's where I'm going to lean and let the kick carry a little more, because you just want that slower end punch, and that's where I'll let them boost 50 to 70 somewhere in there, and I'm going to start jumping up ahead of it. But if it's faster material, where you just can't have that kind of weight in the kick and you have to add a little more head attack and things, that's where I'm going to get even heavier in 120 so that I can carry and push through the bottom and let the kick drum sit above me a little bit. So it depends on the material.
Do you have to tweak
Gotcha.
room-wise? I mean, every room is a little different. Do you find it's consistent enough?
Yeah, that's the thing is, in a way, it kind of helps that too, because it's like if we already work together, the same adjustments have to be made. It's like if you're in a really boomy room, then you can take, guitars and bass, send them out to one bus, and then just shape that already unified sound. Rather than I got to take this out of the guitars or this out of the bass. It's like, no, there's just too much bass. So you got to high pass the overall mix of it. It really definitely has streamlined. It's the same thing as like if when an engineer gets into a new room on tour or something, they pop in a CD, start listening, all those tweaks they would normally do, that's got to be done anyway. So then the sound's going to work by the time that's the room tuning's done.
Cool.
So yeah, it made a huge difference for me. I'm actually going to be doing the beginning of the year, I'm kicking off 2 new series, and I'm going to try and really level up the channel. On top of doing the gear demos, I've been holding back a little bit on gear demos because I've been trying to do them a little differently. I feel like it's always the same thing when you see a gear demo. It's, hi, I have thing. And then they play and they try and impress you a little bit. And then it's, here's why this is awesome, or here's why I hate this, and sign off. And one of my problems with it is just it can become a little repetitive or monotonous, and sometimes you really don't get comparisons. And I talked about it in one of my weekly shows, where one of the big problems with a lot of the reviews, and part of why I use, to what we were saying, the IRs to try and keep them consistent, is there's never an A-B. So you're really kind of getting an unknown constantly. You may listen and go, oh my God, this sounds great. But it's like, versus what? Some people are just good at dialing things in. And it's like, well, what does this sound like compared to something I know? So I'm going to try as much as possible to have a consistent thing that somebody can reference. Like I'm probably going to grab a short performance and get the DI tracks from it and use it for multiple videos. So you're always hearing the same bass, same strings, same, everything going through. And then be able to go, okay, I can line up 6 of his videos when I want to hear the best preamp for me. And I know he's using this EMG setup, and I know he's using this bass with the maple neck. So I got at least a starting place. And now I'm just going to go through, and, he dials it in a certain way. So how good was he able to do it at each point? And then you have a much better reference just than, I tried a new setup and here it is, and this bass and that, one guy's doing it with a jazz bass one week and then he's got a precision the next, and it's, you kind of don't have a footing to get a real understanding of the thing.
I did something like that when I was doing an article for Seymour Duncan about flat wound bass strings. And I did that same thing. I think I got 6 bass, 6 sets, different one, like all the big names at the time. played them all on the same bass, played the exact same bass lines and everything like that, and just put them back and forth like that. And so it was like this one track was like, here's a Motown lick, and I notched each part for so you know where each one was, and you could hear definite differences at that point. But it made it so much easier because, like you're saying, you're taking out all the variables until the only thing that's changing is the thing you're actually talking about.
Exactly. I feel like that's really the only. I feel like that's the difference between a guitar demo and just showing off a piece of gear. You know, like some of the stuff I've been doing for EMG, I did a guitar thing where I took the same guitar and just kept swapping the pickups out.
Yeah.
And I kept playing the same example all the way through it, did lead, did rhythm, and immediately the comments were like, thank you. Like, I keep hearing them separate and from different people, so I have no idea. It's like through a different amp, through a different cabinet, and it's a completely different tone. I don't know how they sound in accordance to each other, so I know which one to pick.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems as often as possible. There's some, a lot of cases you just can't do that because you have a unique product or something, but as often as possible, I'm going to try and do that. I'm also going to be doing things like doing comparative EQs. I've done it in a couple of my videos where I'll actually put it through and do an EQ capture of one and then the other and show the differences in case your ear isn't at the point where you can go, oh, there's a lot of 4K in that one, or, that type of thing. So they can go, oh, I can literally see it. Like this pickup has way more high end, or there's a hump at 500, or so they can get, a data spreadsheet almost of like, what do I like to hear? And I can see this has more of it. I feel
I
like
hope the manufacturers are listening because this is really good,
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's educating the public. If somebody doesn't understand, there's a lot of players that don't, and putting those frequencies to actual notes or the certain places, it's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is.
it basically just comes down to the whole reason why I even started the channel. It's like I try and do the reviews that I want to see.
Yeah.
That's to me is the biggest benefit is I just get to screw around with gear that I really am interested in and weed out all the choices, and I just let people watch, as I sit there and nerd out,
Yeah, that gives it a genuine feel as opposed to a driven by whatever masses. It's like you want to do it because you want to do it. That's it.
Yeah, but the other two, pieces going back to like the sound engineering and stuff, I'll be going into a lot of that in detail. The two series I'm going to be starting the beginning of the year is I researched for a long time on YouTube to make sure there was nothing like this on it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing a series where I start from the beginning of when you first even think of starting a musical project.
Yeah.
Going all the way through songwriting to pre-production to recording, mixing, master, the whole engineering process, and then even into branding and marketing and, the things you need to think about, how to make sure that what you want to be as an artist actually comes out through the music rather than just kind of going, I want to sound good and handing it to somebody, the entire process from, start to finish. And that I'm going to get a lot into. And I think it's going to be, I'm hoping guitar players, bassists, drummers will all be able to pick up on it to a certain degree and go, listen to this sound. Sounds great, right? And then I'll show it in the mix and go, see how it sounds like ass now? This is why. You have to develop your tone within the group of musicians you're with. And that's the only way to guarantee you actually come out sounding the way you want to. And how to craft those. I did one, and that one got a really good response too, is I just played the same bass line and I played the same guitar and just swapped out pickups over it.
Yeah.
As it went over, and it changed the sound of how you heard the bass. And people were kind of like, I never realized this happens. Like, yeah. And then I would tweak one little
separate channel, Rodney, or on your channel?
On the YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
All right, so all can be found under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put links.
And we'll put the links up and everywhere.
Very cool. Very cool.
No, but that's great. I mean, also, it's helping, maybe opening up some eyes for people that never thought about recording and multi-tracking other instruments. We're like, oh, wow, that's, it's great. You're inspiring for sure. It's rad. I like that.
Appreciate that. You know, I'm leaning more into some education things and
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like from, you know, my past history of teaching or some of the, I think maybe I've applied some different things to my methodologies that aren't as common
Cool.
for a lot of people. So, you know, I'll even be doing a course on creativity and how people think it's unteachable. It's not. You can force creativity at any minute if you understand how it and why it happens, and then just maneuver your thinking into that position. You know, so that people can more have an effective thing of like, I'm going to sit down and write and then be a productive artist rather than that. I feel like that's something we probably all suffer from, is that sense of it, you know, music can be a real random thing of I wait for inspiration and then, you know, my amp doesn't sound right today and then this guy doesn't show up for practice. It's always these constant swirling elements of stuff not connecting. And being a bit type A on that type of thing, I've always been obsessed with locking it all down. So,
Well, I mean, some of the great songs. I mean, Jackson Brown would wake up every morning and like 2 hours write
yeah.
whatever it was. I mean, you got Jason Isbell does that. You have, you know, even writers, Hunter S. Thompson, even though his was a little bit left of center crazy, but he had his schedule, man. And that's when he did. He put this time and like you said, you know, it can be taught or, you know, maybe it's not going to be as good or creative in one day, but at least it's getting that motion and doing something and doing that and setting aside that time and then getting into a flow state and blah, 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 yada, yada. But
You're getting into deep psychological, you know, aspects now. Like, I mean, you're getting into something beyond Psych 101 classes, really. You know,
no, but
these are actual techniques, you know?
yeah, but that's awesome, man. That's, you know, that's great. I think it's going to be an awesome series. Yeah.
I hope so. It'll be a lot of fun. And like I said, a lot of it isn't that deep. It's just, you know, taking your familiar legs out from under you. Like every once in a while, I'll just tune my bass randomly and pick different pitches.
Yeah.
And it breaks me out of, because I think, you know, especially if you've worked a lot on theory or scales or things like that, you start developing patterns.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I've been robbed of all that. I don't know where anything is. So I just start hitting notes and I really have to focus in on note value and things that sound pleasing to me rather than being able to just blow through stuff. And then the real challenge becomes, then I go back to my normal tuning and have to figure it out, which is, yeah, it's enlightening right there. But then just going back and doing that makes me look and start looking at shapes and ways of maneuvering around scales I never would have thought of before.
Cool.
And they're ways that I feel like are very honest because I picked these notes out because strictly of how they sounded to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not, oh, I'm playing this scale and that's very metal and you know, that kind of thing. It's, I enjoyed this and now I know what it looks like and how to get it and something about my personality that now I've got a landmark for. And that's a simple thing to do. Just do that.
I went through one bad winter. You guys are going to laugh at me for this. This is really nerdy. Where I was young and I didn't have a car for a few weeks, which is in Boston means you're stranded, right? Unless you live deep in the city, you're stranded. So I used a random number generator to create, and I assigned a note to each value. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to write this on staff and try to play it. And of course, it sounds horrible. And then you do it like, okay, well, now I'm going to pick a key. And then, okay, now it sounds like weird jazz, but no, it's something. And it did. It taught you looked at intervals differently and so forth. You know, it was fun.
Yeah. And that's the best part is that, you know, the creativity should be fun. And, you know, for me, nerding out is, you know, a ton of fun. Some people, it's almost spending that time though is almost an inhibitor. They want to get right to things. So it's like, how can I put those two together? I teach, you know, how to get to something as quickly as possible, get it accomplished quickly, but then also make it fun because you're not spending hours and hours if you're just not into that kind of thing, exploring around. So I could be, I feel like stuff like that might go over well, or I might get 3 hits and that's it. So we'll see.
but you're doing it because you want to do it. So
Exactly.
That's what matters. That's it, man. You know.
I have a question for you, Steve.
Yes, sir.
If there was a G&L bass that had to be recommended for a metal guy, what would it be?
Probably the L2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get you one. Do a review. I'll get you one. Yeah, I'll find one. It's very and these guys. And
The L25. Well, I do the 2500, which is
yeah, yeah,
basically
the 4 or the 5. It's well, Tony. Tone wise, it just has it's not a jazz. It's not a P. It's not a
Hmm.
Music Man. It's not. It's its own animal, and it's got this mid barkness to it. Uh, the switches, like I said, when I send it to you, we'll talk. And Tony knows it. And
I
say,
can speak on this. I got a couple of them
yeah,
actually.
yeah, and just setting wise, you got to kind of sit with it and learn because so it's master volume, treble and bass, and the treble and bass are cut only. So you
Hmm.
start all the way up and you take away.
So
Yeah,
I think it's almost like, and I mean this in a good way, Steve,
yeah, oh, do it.
like a slightly more aggressive version of a PJ,
Yeah.
Okay.
but it can do other things too. It can completely do other things.
The
Uh,
MFD pickups are very different. You just have to kind of
they're 100% their own thing.
yeah, you got,
If I'm not playing a low, I'm playing the L2500.
yeah.
Got it.
That's
It,
pretty
it's one of those
statement.
that some it's one of those that you plug in and you have to kind of like, okay, this sounded kind of mess with for a minute to get
Mhm.
used to it. It's got a pickup selector as opposed to pickup panning, so you kind of get used to that. It's got a series humbucking and a parallel humbucking setting that's a little different. Then it's got a little preamp that's it's a buffer preamp. Doesn't really hype any frequencies except for one setting. Leo developed it so that the cable lengths weren't uh, interfered with when you went longer than like 25-foot cables. That's all it was. It was a buffer to increase the signal. So that's it. But
Mhm.
I'll get you one, man. Yeah, try it out.
Yeah, I'd love to. I've always honestly been a little curious why I don't see more metal guys using some of them. Back in the like a long back in the day time, and I give myself away, but I snuck into a club underage to see Flotsam and Jetsam when Jason Newsted was still with them,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
and he was playing,
You did date yourself.
which was awkward because I don't like me and we didn't get along. But but he was playing a GNL and it was ferocious. And I think the what was it, the MFD, and then I heard a couple samples of the P pickup. Is it the SP or
SB, yeah,
S?
the SB has MFDs. That's another kind of it's a sleeper base, which I'm actually really trying to kind of reawaken, I should say, because it's not a P per se. It's a little bit more of an aggressive P, and the SB has the pickup a little farther back. But it's really it's a P bass and then some because it's really a ridiculously versatile bass.
You can
And
cop an aggressive P bass. You
yeah,
can cop.
you can play jazz. Jazz. Dan Lutz plays with Jonathan Butler and plays that, and he's used to playing like a you know fancy boutique-y kind of modernish sound, and he goes, dude, this thing is incredible. It fits. It works. So the MFD thing is a definite, like, that's a Leo thing. That's a GNL thing. Very distinct sound onto itself. Which
No,
is
but
great.
I've always seen, like I said, I would hear different samples, always curious, but was never anything was around. I didn't know anybody that played them.
Yeah.
Like I've always, the first sets that I really fell in love with and I found I've gone back to is I use a double P set now.
Nice.
Oh.
I used to play the old original USB-C Riches before they
Yeah.
went all fucking
Yeah.
weird, and it had those Model P DiMarzios in it,
Yeah.
and it was just aggressive as hell.
Good.
And I do the same thing with EMGs now. All my basses are double P setups. I use
Nice.
PJ once in a while, but it's kind of my optimal is just that ridiculousness. And
Yeah.
whenever I would hear samples of like those series GNLs and stuff, I'm like, it's kind of in that same real bark kind of territory.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that they just didn't catch on with metal as much.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, there's those who kind of know, they use them,
Mhm.
and I, You know,
I'm shocked as well
yeah,
because I've had that conversation with Steve. I'm like, why aren't these more common in metal? Like,
no,
why would someone play a Warwick? I mean, I understand some people might dig that whole weird wood thing and everything like that, but it's super, they can get super aggressive.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And but you can mellow it out too, though, if you want to. You can go passive and dial back the highs and just go sweet. Like I have a funk fusion record. I guess that's the category I'm going to be putting out with Dig by Terry,
Yeah.
and I'm doing a couple of the tracks with the L2500. Hands down, I love it.
Uh,
I'll get you one, right? 4 or 5.
uh, 5, I guess, would
All right, yeah.
be better, especially if I'm going to do a demo. A lot of
Yeah.
guys like to see the extended range covered. Yeah, I'd love to try it out.
Nice.
And,
Yeah, I'll get you one of these demo. Try it out.
yeah,
I mean, you got to think too, Steve, for something like that, that Tony can play his aggressive style. I can play my more laid back, nuanced thing on the same instrument and use it in 2 completely different worlds, and it's going to fit great.
It's pretty crazy. It's a good bass. It's kind of one of those unsung hero basses.
Rodney, you got a pretty hard technique, don't you? I mean, you're not a gentle player in the right hand.
uh, how could I be delicate about it? I have
Don't
to,
be.
yeah,
Don't be.
I have to purposefully set up my bass so that I don't kick the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been trying to do that more and more, and it's because of more of my tone too, because I'm just constantly trying to out rabid myself in a way. So I've learned to kind of embrace the fret noise and stuff. So I've been lowering the strings more and more to get that consistent kind of. The way I attack it anymore is I've actually kind of changed it, but I used to just beat the shit out of it. I've been known to actually punch my bass. It just comes down to where
Okay, so maybe you have an even a more aggressive hand than me. I've got a hard right hand, very hard, and I'm a big fan, like you, of you with the Schecters. You play 35-inch scale. I play 35-inch scale lulls. I would have to say the L2500. I would say just the GNLs in general. I don't know if it's the bridge and the 6-bolt thing. I'm not quite sure exactly what. I'm sure it's a combination of everything. That heavy bridge, the 6 bolts, the neck is substantial. Although they have a couple of different thicknesses. It's probably one of the best 34-inch scale 5-strings I've ever played. And
Really?
I'm saying that, and I play hard. I mean, what moved me to lull was that was one of the factors. I had to find a company that was working with 35. In fact, that's when I worked with Schecter a little bit. I'm like, well, they do 35. Okay, cool. I can do this. And GNL is fine, just fine.
And it's 34-inch scale, and we make some great Bs. Some great. Yeah.
I found that interesting. I'm sure you have something to say that would be informative on that too. I did one of my shows a little while ago. We were talking about how nothing is set in stone. That people always go, you have to have a 35 scale for this. You have to have that. And I sat there and said, pulled out. I have one of the old PVTLs.
Yeah. Oh, dude, those are the Tom Landers.
Yeah.
Tim Landers bass.
Tim Landers.
Those
Yeah.
are great. TL5.
Double P standard pickups. Those things. I called it the poor man's alembic. It was just absolutely amazingly constructed 34. I hit the bottom on that one, and there are whales that start signaling from off the coast.
Nice.
Just unreal. And it was just because it's just really well crafted, having everything set just right. A half-ass 35 is going to play like spaghetti compared to a 34 that's done well. I had a Tobias Basic 6.
Yeah.
That amazing, absolutely incredible. So, and I was trying to get that apart to people too, is I've gone, there's nothing that's set in stone. So whenever possible, even though we're in kind of a remote world, get your hands on something and don't think that one setting determines, 100% everything you're going to get out of it.
Yeah. I talk with these guys, especially low Bs. I always say, like, there's this, for me, it either falls in the side where you hit it and it's kind of a slow bloom, or you hit it and it's like that. Those are your two, like, extremes. And then it can fall anywhere in between that. For me, I like a B that's just tight. But I know some people that like more of a blooming low B. So I think that that's kind of how I gauge it. When I hear a B, like, okay, is that going to be a fast, snappy B or C or, D flat or D or whatever, those notes, or are they going to be a little bit slower attack? And some people like slower attack. I like a little bit more of a quick pokey. I don't know.
I prefer pokey as
Yeah,
well.
but there are some
Pokey.
people that I've talked to and I play bass and they really like that blooming kind of lowness. So I don't know. Where do you fall in the category there? Or do you kind of notice that or
I do, and that was part of the other thing. And I think even John would have a good relation to this, just on how strings are constructed too.
yeah.
That again, that's one of those things you can't take for granted, especially if you're really a psycho about your B string. Well, what about a different set of strings? If you're going from hex to round core on the same bass, it's going to be dramatically different. And they say the tone is in your fingers thing, especially on something like fingerstyle bass. It definitely is. Somebody was asking me, actually, I play with 3 fingers. And they were saying that it looked kind of strange to them at some points when they watched, like, I had the camera underneath a couple of times. And it's because I found that, trying to get this constantly aggressive, almost a slap tone out of fingerstyle kind of thing, that I've started curling my hand and I more strike down on the string, almost like a very Entwistle type of approach. I'm almost tapping.
Yeah.
And for me, it's because I do tapping, like it really quick runs a lot of times. It's almost the same approach. My hand's almost in the same position as like I'll be tapping and then I just go back to playing. It's just kind of like on a kind of a sliding positioning thing. So I'm always pinging off the fret almost. And I play very close to the neck, a very kind of Getty approach to things. And so what I'm going to get out of a B string is going to be completely different than a guy who does a conventional, pop downward towards their chest kind of approach.
Or with a pick. Totally different. Yeah.
Exactly. So they might get a bloom, whereas I'm going to get a very, snappy attack and almost a truncated low end because I'm getting so much more fret noise on top of it. So it really is one of those things where, you have to go out and discover on your own. And unfortunately, we're in kind of a preset culture anymore where it's like, give me the package that gets me this thing. What's the metal bass? What's the right overdrive? What's the, and.
Well, I think a perfect example of what you're saying, Rodney, is when balanced tension sets came out. Because, as much as people tried to tout it, at the end of the day, people want it in a package to go to the store and be like, I want my set of mediums. Thank you. And they're done.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing to me too that on things like that, how something will suddenly become crucial, and then it's not.
Yeah,
it's like this very in thing type of thing, and then they move along. It's suddenly the thing that was you were an idiot for not having it. A year later, the next progression of whatever it is comes out, and nobody even remembers the thing that was absolutely, essential to whatever. Item it was you had.
I think after your amp and your instrument, your strings are your next important element.
100%. Yeah, I would rather.
I think they're very overlooked. What's the cheapest?
I've said I always would rather play a shitty bass with fresh strings on it than a great bass with dead strings. It's just a world of difference, and unfortunately, I apparently have the blood that the alien had in the first movie. And it's like while stringing up, I've killed them.
You have those hands. Oh, that makeup.
You and Mike Pope.
Nice.
I did a show at Mike Pope, and I was showing him my bass and everything like that. And he's like, "Can I try it?" I'm like, "How about you just look?" I said to Mike Pope, like, "You want to just look at it?"
Yeah.
Because he's like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "You know about my condition."
Hey Rod, do you rust out the screws on the pickups and the hardware? I was wondering because I've known a couple of people have had that and they'll like rust out their saddle screws or stuff like. I was just wondering.
Not quite as much, but there's something like the string. I can do like one set, and the strings will feel like somebody's dumped something on them. Like all of a sudden I've got a set of elixirs or something.
Sure.
Can I give you a little trick that I've done a lot?
You about playing?
Fried
Uh,
chicken. Fried chicken.
oh my God, about my chicken. No.
I like fried chicken. Nothing wrong with it, dude.
Even John's laughing, going, "What the hell's going?" No, this has
Hey,
nothing to do with the fried chicken.
We saw the picture. You and Dino finally went out to get your chicken sandwiches last time. So
Yeah. Jealous.
Cornstarch.
Really?
Some of the
Oh.
real hot shows under the lights. I'm wearing a jumpsuit and all that stuff. You know, for blue, I'm like a little bit of cornstarch. I keep it in my rack case.
Nice.
Right, boom. It'll dry up your hand. You know, it's like $1 a box. You know what I mean? You just need like that much.
Mhm.
In between the fingers, around the tips, boom, dries it all out, and definitely will helps the life of the strings. I don't go through strings often, you know, and I play and I like a bright, hard, ballsy sound.
Yeah.
And that technique helps a lot. Helps a lot.
I'll try that out. Yeah, I think I'm one of the few people I know too that it's like I like the sound the second strings are put on a bass. That incredible
really
brightness and articulation. Yeah, so it's like, 4 seconds in, as they start to dull out, I'm like, two set, new set. It's
Are you playing GHS steels, super steels?
was using the progressives for a while.
Nice.
Mhm.
And really enjoying them. And then I've just been kind of going, I got to try something and just see, because I've switched back to the EMGPs and I'm like, looking for a little more grind with it. So that's what I've been kind of experimenting lately.
Yeah.
John's down here for me.
Down there for me.
John said I was like freaking him, like, because I'm a huge Progressives fan, like best strings ever. And then I'm like, oh, when am I gonna get them again? You know what I mean? So I've got a couple of sets aside for my record, and then
Those are the ones I came out of my personal stash, right, Tony?
thank you, John. But the steels, I love in the steels too. I go a little thinner. I go a little thinner for the steels, unless it's a drop tuning set. But I'm not doing a lot of vocal stuff right now, so I have those strings are fine where I have to drop it a half step. But I just go. I'm John. Am I playing the lights, or I don't know if the mediums, or
I think you're doing lights. What do we do? 40, 60, 80, 100?
yes, and then like a 126 or something like that, or 125.
That's about right.
I like them.
I'm a fan of super steels, man. I'm on the opposite side. I have an Excel sheet that I put when I change strings on some basses because I always fucking forget. So I'm like, oh, when did I change? Literally a year old, and they're like, they still are bright. So I'm on that other spectrum. I know. So, but the super steels are great. Have you tried the super steels, Rodney?
I haven't, and that's what I've been kind of going. I need to check these out. And
I like them a lot, man. Yeah. Tony likes them. Tony's down here for me.
Yeah.
Tony
Oh,
likes
I'm you're this way from me. Rodney, John.
me.
Yeah.
Anyways, what? Because I'm nerding here. Use Premiere for video, Final Cut.
I do not. I
What do you
use DaVinci.
DaVinci, nice.
Yeah.
Resolve, is that DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah.
That is, yeah, nice.
Absolutely swear by it.
Yeah.
That was the last link to me finally escaping the Adobe empire.
Got it.
Good for you.
I like the Adobe Empire because I use all that shit. So I have the whole business suite because I do all the fucking Lightroom, Photoshop. I have to have all that stuff, and yeah. But I'm sure that environment wise, its Premiere is pretty close to DaVinci. Just
I find DaVinci the workflow to be infinitely easier and less bullshitty. That was kind of the big problem I was having with Premiere is the way I had to constantly maneuver things to get to see what I want at the time and everything. And yeah, I don't like sub-menu thing. I don't like having to go multiple steps that aren't visible into things. I kind of want a video editor that looks like an audio editor.
got it.
And the other thing being the color grading, I'll do the Pepsi challenge any day.
Just better. Yeah.
And the fact that there's audio in it. I don't have to do all my audio treatments outside the thing and bring it in now. I just throw everything into the same machine, load up my audio tracks, gate them, cut, do whatever I need to do.
I take it you're a Mac guy.
No.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm shocked.
Really?
Okay.
I'm actually one of those idiots that builds all his own machines and everything.
There you go.
Well,
That's
okay.
cool. Oh,
That's awesome.
that stuff's cool.
Nice.
Now, when you say that, I'm not surprised. Knowing you more, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's rad.
When you say, I build it myself, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's Rodney.
I'm a control freak. If there's any option that, I can have utter dominance over what I'm doing.
I want to hear about your ex-band members. If you were a band leader, I'd love to hear about that then.
Nah, I don't know about that. That could get me arrested.
So I got to say something off the cuff here. We talked a little bit about this on the different things like this in the first recording. This is way off in left field.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to Amsterdam. All right.
Oh.
No, in Amsterdam, there's the Sex Museum. And the background of Rodney's studio looks like one of the rooms from the Sex Museum. Okay.
Are you sure it's not live from said room, Tony?
Exactly.
Are you an
All I can think about, because I lived there for a little bit, right?
What, in the sex room?
Not the sex room. I lived in Amsterdam. So, and
that is your
I just
sex
wanna
room
keep
right
on-
there, isn't it? You're in your sex room, Tony.
This explains the GIMP line on the resume there.
All I could think of is like,
Wow.
fucking hey, that looks like the Sex Museum.
That's probably how he got his Blue Man gig. They're like, are you comfortable wearing a costume? And he's like, am I?
Yeah.
That's a bonus.
I thought you were going to be in costume today, Tony.
Wait a minute, this isn't the Blue Ball Group? What?
No, I changed.
Oh, okay.
No. So I'm cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it's I'm a mood guy, and because I spend roughly my entire day in here most days, it's that thing of where I get to go to mental Disneyland and just kind of chill out.
Vibe out. That's cool. What's your main instrument that you're using now? Do you have a couple or a few or
As far as
main bass? What
oh
yeah.
Don't have a few of them right now. Actually, I'm in kind of a period where I'm just trying to get a lot of different sounds. Using a Schecter SLS for kind of the center stuff that I'm doing. I got a 6-string, newer 6-string from the same series. I've been using a BC Rich Warlock from '83.
Nice.
On a couple of things.
Oh my God.
I
Is that the double P pickup?
Oh, of course. That was the whole reason I got it. And I just picked up a 12-string, so I've been messing with that a lot. And some fretless.
Nice.
I picked up a Bonnie Brunel 5-string fretless
Carbon?
from Carvin.
Yeah.
Had like the asymmetrical Tobias style neck, and then actually you can probably see it right there. Up on top of my thing is another 5-string fretless Carvin back in the day. Those things were really underrated, and they shouldn't have changed the formula. That's those things are absolute steals from back then. I mean, the quality was good. The pickups were pretty horrible on all of them, but just the quality of the builds and everything was really great. If I see a nice one here or there, I'll grab them. And I mean, $350, $400, you've got a more than awesome bass.
Ronnie, I got to tell you about what you mentioned about the double Ps with those DiMazzios. Sounding like the G&L. I always had a thing for the BC Rich Eagle. So I picked one up, and I kind of, not one of the real good 70s ones, but a kind of related one. And I hot rodded it with I put the DiMazzio model Ps in there and everything. And it's got that sound, but it still sounds different than the G&L. So I think when you review the G&L, you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I see no reason why I wouldn't be. It's it's kind of my thing. Something that I feel like is kind of lacking in musical instrument production a lot right now is something that's its own animal. Yeah. It seems like people are kind of, not just bands and music, but manufacturers all kind of have like a North Star. and they're all shooting slightly at the same direction with just mild tweaks on things. And I don't hear a lot of their own things. That's one thing that kind of bugs me about a lot of manufacturers that don't build their own pickups in-house. Although I love, like I said, I'm pretty steady with EMG, and I love what they do, and it's become my sound. But it's like, how different are you really going to be if you build this phenomenal bass with all this stuff, and then you stick the same pickups this other company has? It's like,
right.
It's like how much, if you take a V8 engine, you can stick it in a ton of different cars. I'm not going to get that much difference in between them.
Yeah. Well,
so I like things with character, or it's like, if you're going to give me something new, give me something new,
The cool thing is that almost that North Star would be Leo Fender, and that's basically L, which is kind of crazy that, he was so ahead of his time. Like them, I really think he was ahead of his time, and yeah, it's really nice to have that. And we're going to start doing more pickups, replacement pickups, MFD stuff, and we make everything in house, and it's amazing. The MFDs are I love them, and our Alnico pickups are amazing too. So I haven't just drank the Kool-Aid. I actually use them and have played them, and so
He makes the Kool-Aid.
I make the Kool-Aid. They call me the Jim Jones of G&L. Wait, sorry.
Right.
You're gonna love this. Drink up, children.
But it's really good. Yeah.
Totally random. I think that's one of my favorite rap lines of all time was a thing from Bloodhound Gang. And he said, I'm like a Jim Jones cult. I'll take you out with one punch.
There you go. But
It's
I like it. That's good.
The Bloodhound Gang, right?
That was a good
Unbelievable. They were creative at the very least. I think that guy, that singer was a intern on Howard Stern.
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then one of the tunes, one of the one single they had, they they break. I don't even know if I should get into this. They break into the middle of it, like they have a bridge, and the bridge, he just stops and he says, the drum from Def Leppard just has one arm, and he repeats it like 15, 20 times, and then the song continues again. Now that was the bridge.
Yeah, it was kind of like they had this thing where they would just, like a ship rocking back and forth from just complete frat boy idiocy to one side where you're just going, I almost feel uncomfortable listening to this. It's so stupid. And then occasionally it would just lean to this other side where you're like, that's like Rain Man brilliance. Yeah. It's like the idiot that came up with something so smart and funny,
Didn't they do kind of like a hip hop rap version of Once I Was Afraid, I Was Petrified? That remake.
I don't know if that was them or not, but I wonder what it would be like if they came out now. Now there would be like somebody would start a Facebook group, trying to ban them or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, there's no fun anymore.
No. None. No more.
Like, what would happen if Two Live Crew came out now?
You couldn't. There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would kill for it. I would support it just because it's that ludicrous.
Yeah, I can't get off on that tangent. Even my safe harbor of metal has just become.
Yeah.
Man, there's some weak sauce out there.
Who are some of your favorite new bands out there right now? Do you have any up and coming that you've heard that you like? Yeah.
No, I'm being kind of savage there. There's some good stuff. It's kind of rough in a way in that it's not that I don't like or respect a number of bands, but a lot of the metal genres that at least I appreciate kind of went on this turn a little while back with it's almost like they found a couple pieces that I really don't like as far as songcraft, and that's become the major element. So it's not that I don't appreciate what they do. It's just like that thing, like, it's like, if you would just write this song without that part, if you would stop doing that thing, kind of the extreme down tuning, I feel like has worn out its welcome to a degree. I just can't get with it. And it goes back to that preset thing too, of like, everybody has the same guitar sound. everybody has this thing of, I'm going to do the, all the way through the verse, and then all of a sudden they turn into Backstreet Boys on the chorus, and I just go,
Yeah.
that kind of the Futurama gift. I'm like, did you slip a different song in on me? This, like, this, because then I'm like, now what are you? It's like, are you a pop band doing metal? Or are you a metal band that suddenly went pop for 20 seconds to have a hook?
Right.
And, and again, this is just my opinion. I if it were static and the music weren't evolving either, I'd have just as much a problem with that. It's just kind of gone in a direction where I'm like, what I've always enjoyed about metal was, one, the fact that it didn't seem to have rules, that you could just kind of get away with stuff. And two is that it's just fundamentally aggressive. It's confrontational. It was, depending on how you view, I guess, gangsta rap or something, the most extreme form of music that was ever invented, especially when you get to the furthest ends of it. And I like that thing of just, that it's almost the same reason I ride roller coasters. I like that nervous thing of things aren't under control and going for that ride. And when you start doing things that make me feel too safe in it, or that I shouldn't know what you're going to do before you do it.
Yeah.
And when that comes up to it, I have a harder time appreciating it. And I'd rather listen to something that's come before where the guy still kind of intimidates and scares me than something where the guy sounds sonically more aggressive, but viscerally way weaker.
You don't have to be protected.
Yeah.
You don't.
No, it's,
I get it. I get that.
Yeah, let's box it out. I'm good to go. Let's,
Yeah, and just innovation wise, there's really nothing kind of weird left to say. It's all kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, it's to be, because I never really hold back and to piss off my own audience and everything else. I feel like metal does this weird thing where it kind of decouples and then comes back every about 10 years.
Sure.
And I think metal's in its hair metal movement right now. And that things have become incredibly polished, that it's not even controversial anymore to have like death metal style vocals in a pop accessible song. It's kind of hit that mark when you see like the big competition American Idol type of people starting to bite off of it.
Yeah.
That's when the movement is over. And so you have like an incredibly poppy accessible version of metal that's the more prominent. And then you have the extreme versions of like technical death metal where it's only a song in the loosest type of connotation, in that it's just these technical fests of extreme musicianship, and nobody's kind of putting it together right now. It's like there's no The Police in metal right now, where you have incredible musicianship and great songs that people who don't give a damn about musicianship still want to listen to. It's either a billion notes a second and all the guys that stand like this at shows are all there, or you've got a bunch of girls who really like your throat tattoos. It's, there's only one or the other. And I think it's kind of having that thing where people are just starting to go, it's like, I've seen this. I remember when Backstreet Boys came out with the leather jackets and they were hanging tough or whatever. I didn't buy that one either.
But you're not hanging tough.
You guys got to, the one side of it has to get uglier, and the other side has to remember that people give a shit about songs and kind of come back together on it. And I think, honestly, we're kind of seeing the human limitations of technique at this point. Like, how much faster can it get? It's like you're out of space. Even if you could play it, it's just going to start to sound like a hum. At a certain point. And I love fast stuff. I love complicated stuff. But to me, the end challenge of turning it into a song that somebody cares about, that's the ultimate judo flip. You got to be able to do that.
I mean, it still has to be. Still has to have some soul. It's got to have feeling. It's got to. It's got to.
Can you relate to it beyond an algebra equation?
Yeah, well, and that was one of the things I got kind of hit for on my own channel. I said flat out, metal got taken over by nerds. It's a bunch of guys standing with incredibly tight body posture, with their guitars hanging from their chin, like playing like this, and I'm just going, this is missing something. There was actually Nurgle, the leader from a band called Behemoth, I felt like nailed it about 5 years ago. And he said metal lost its rock spirit.
Yeah.
And he said that there's nothing, he goes, they don't come out and kick the door in and tell you, I don't care if you like it, you know, we're going to just kick your ass. Now it's very, is everybody feeling okay? You know, it's like, really?
Are you ready to soft rock?
Yes.
Are you ready
I'm
to
trying to think
rock?
of the, I'm trying to think of the band that my daughter's listening to. My daughter's listening to, let's see if I can find it on my phone. And I was really impressed, actually. And then a French metal band, actually.
Gojira.
Gojira.
Good, man.
That's
Good
it.
stuff.
They've
A
been
newer
around,
band that
they've
I would
been
say I
around
like.
for a while.
Yeah.
They've been around for a minute. They're
Those
great.
guys do really interesting stuff. And I think they're a perfect example of it, is that they do some strange timing type of things. But a lot of their stuff isn't really that difficult. But I mean, they're creatively really interesting. They can pound the
I
hell
didn't
out
find them doing nerd math rock with like degen style, like the technical death metal. And I'm not crapping on that style. I just think I agree with you. A lot of artists are doing that, but they were definitely, they were definitely heavier than like a cock rock thing too. Do you know what I mean? They were definitely. I found them in between, and then I looked at a picture. I'm like, oh, these guys look like they're waiters at a Manhattan restaurant. You know, so it was kind of interesting. And my 10-year-old daughter likes them, so there's some hope and faith. You know.
Yeah,
I have-
absolutely.
So one band that cracks me up that I'm not totally into them, but I actually I think it's pretty funny is Necrogoblicon. I'm sorry, I think it makes me laugh.
Hmm.
And the Goblin is funny as shit, and he has a talk show. It's fantastic. It's really good.
You know what I'm looking up when this podcast is done.
When it's done, I've got 2 monitors up.
Go, John, go!
It's fucking hilarious. And I heard it. I think I was on Joe Rogan podcast with who's the guy, the guitar player, has all the tattoos all over.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure.
No, but he's got the all over his face tattoos. Post Malone.
Oh, Post Malone. Yeah.
And they were asking him, "Who do you listen to?" He goes, "Man, there's this band, Necrogoblicon." I'm like, wait a sec, I got to check this out. It's comical. It seems like it's the guys know what they're doing. They know how to play, but it's definitely a screamo kind of thing. But I found humor in it. I actually thought it was like, okay, these guys are going for this gimmicky thing. It's actually pretty funny. I don't know. Are you hip to them, like them?
No, I love that type of stuff. Again, that's more what I look for in something, is not even just in metal, but it's like, can you give me something that I can only get from you?
Yeah.
And I mean, this goes back to business and success too. And doing my channel or being a musician, I feel like too many bands are following, again, that North Star of something, and it's like, what reason do I have to come to you if you're not giving me a flavor that I can get everywhere else? So when somebody does something like that, I absolutely love it.
I might have overlooked them because I don't like the whole Mac Sabbath thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love.
I can't relate to that.
You gotta watch the sit down thing. It's like he's like a talk show host, and he talks to these people. He talks to the guitar player from Limp Bizkit and totally berates him, and he talks to. Yeah, it's just funny. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool.
I mean, the Guar thing back in the day was kind of interesting. I mean,
Yes, but it was very lowbrow. Like, it was kind of lowbrow. This guy actually, when you hear, it's funny. It's almost like Larry David as a goblin. Yeah. Anyways,
Guar used to play Boston once a month, all the time.
Yeah. They were
like,
great.
oh, okay, it's the third Friday in April. Guar's here. He'll be back in May.
Yeah.
The gimmick thing, But
I love this type of thing. This is always interesting and telling to me too. Is like when I can talk with people who I know can appreciate metal to a certain degree, but it isn't their central focus. Like, what do they wind up honing into?
Yeah.
Like his daughter with Gojira, or you with the Goblin. It's like that tells me what what stands out immediately, and that's always kind of a fascinating thing, and something I try and pay a lot of attention to as well, because if it stands out for somebody who's not necessarily a real heavy follower of the form, then that's something that needs to be paid more attention to in the form. You know, it's what's breaking through all different boundaries and things, what's grabbing people's ears or their attention. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that's part of why I'm trying a lot of different basses and styles and things now, is just looking for new sounds, trying fretless and things. I've just picked up fretless again, so I'm still at horrifying intonation level. But instead of going to you know, someone like Steve DiGiorgio from Testament and Death or something like that who plays fretless, I've tried to go to other influences and see what I can pull from players. And I've been listening to like a lot of Patrick O'Hearn.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but
I am. Yeah.
he and I like guys like that who just go, I'm a musician and I'm going to have a career so varied, like it gives you whiplash kind of looking at it. He started playing bass for Zappa. It was incredibly technically accomplished. I mean, you don't get that gig if you're half-assed.
No.
Mm-hmm.
He went from that to playing in the 80s synth band Missing Persons.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Wow.
he was only playing bass part-time and was playing keyboards most of the time. Now he plays this incredibly, like, I hate to say ambient because ambient has an almost dance music type of connotation, but very soundscape style music now that, I mean, some of those notes are so far apart, I feel like I should forward my mail in between them and stuff. It's just, it makes Pink Floyd look like crackheads. It's amazing. And he'll do these incredible fretless lines where there's no fat on the bone. You know, it's just every note is intentional.
I have not heard any of his stuff, but I'm familiar with him. I haven't heard the new stuff, like him doing that style of music.
I found him, I was working at PRS at the time, and I remember having one of those lightning moments where I had heard his music coming out of a store, and I ran in and asked the guy, I'm like, what is that?
That's cool.
And I kind of tucked it away in my head, like, I got to hear some more of this. And then one of the guys that I knew in the finish department there, one of those weird synchronicities, like a week later, he had one of his CDs. And I said, can I check that out? And it was so loud in there, I used to put headphones on and, you know, just like clamp them to my head to keep out the wood machines and just listen to audiobooks or whatever. I put that CD in, and I just remember just standing there for a minute, like, it was just such a sonic environment, like I was no longer at work. I listened to it over and over and over, and I went immediately after work and bought like 5 of his CDs.
Wow.
On the way home, and one of his CDs I listened to every night when I went to bed for at least a year and a half.
Wow.
It's immortal. I mean,
Are you familiar with Mick Karn at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
I found him to be kind of similar in some ways, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to get into it, I mean, go all the way back to O'Hearn's catalog. But for me, a formative one would be like Indigo.
Okay.
And then he has one fairly recent called Glaciation that he did with some sit-ins from David Torn.
And it's Patrick O'Hearn, did you say?
Yeah.
Patrick O'Hearn, okay.
And yeah, just phenomenal music. If you want to hear closer to modern production, I'd say Glaciation. But then, you know, like I said, something like Indigo was just amazing. The first note on the first song of Indigo is where I just went, wow. This just soundscape comes in, and I was blown away. So
some of those jazz guys done some esoteric stuff, like Michael Shreve, who's played with Dave Torn a lot. You know, has done some his degree of like almost new agey music, and it's really good actually. You know, some of it's really good.
I would describe this more like that. It's not very jazz oriented music at all. He does, I would say, more orchestrated. It's not hyper dissonant, that type of thing, but the note choices are really, to me, they're just flawless.
I'm gonna check them out.
Yeah,
I've tried taking, I've used him as a lot of note study pieces. Like even when I'm playing fast, I'm sampling phrasings and things and note and chord changes that he would use because they're just, they just have like a, I would say mildly melancholic, but not dissonant flavor to them that just really appeals to me.
That's like Mick Karn too. Mick Karn's the same way, you know, just kind of really slow, mellow, minor patterns that were just very tasteful, you know? And I'm
Mhm.
like, oof.
Hmm.
And especially for fretless, being able to really have to sit on a note
Yeah.
and make it work, no chorus, no other crap, just really laying on it. You got to be accurate.
Yeah.
So
Oh
when
yeah, yeah. Then you otherwise you sound like a, you know, yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
you
when I
like
want to
out
just
of
slap
key.
the piss out of him. He'll do some stuff where he's playing one fretless line of like long held octaves and then playing the lead lines over top of himself. Every note dead on. I'm just like, oh, come on. You just want to kick the
One
heck.
thing you don't hear at NAM, a lot of fretless players. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because you can't slap on it.
exactly.
You can, but nobody wants to hear that. Like, no.
No, I call it my joke used to be there's guitar hall, drum hall, popcorn hall. There's just, you go into it, it just sounds like a popcorn machine and a shaker.
What?
I did my best to not slap for the last 2 years in NAM.
Rodney,
I
okay,
tried too, but there were too many guys that needed it.
too much. What? What? What was your early metal? Like, what band went like, oh shit, that's the shit I dig.
See, well, I mean, I think it's probably for everybody out of my generation, but I had two older brothers, and it would be Sabbath. Hearing Iron Man the first time,
All
I
right.
just went, "What?"
What the fuck is that? It's awesome.
Exactly.
War
And,
Pigs. You hear that? You're like,
yep. Hearing the first Van Halen record messed me up. It was, thankfully, having having two older brothers, I got into music and understood it really early.
sure.
So it kind of destroyed my life path and left me broke pretty much from the word go. But at 7 years old, I'm walking around, with "We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll" and the first Van Halen out. Like, this is what I was listening to at that
That's
point.
cool.
Uh, but it even shaped me, bass wise, and what brought me those choices were those type of things. Is I was always exposed for some reason to bands where it seemed like it was a single guitar player and bass
Yeah.
player kind of thing. So I was never that person that for a while had to go, "What's that other guy playing?
Yeah.
I don't hear him. What's that going on?" I heard Geezer Butler, and
And Tony, go
just
ahead,
hearing the intro to "Running with the Devil," it's one note, but you just go like,
dude.
"That guy does something different. What is that thing?"
Yeah.
I would say probably the one that tipped me over. I mean, you can always point to the classic like Steve Harris and Geddy Lee. When I first heard Rush 2, I was just like, that guitar sounds meaner. What is that?
Yeah.
But I think the thing that drove me really to bass at the end over anything, because it was always that thing, bass or guitar, would be Bob Daisley from the first Ozzy albums.
Mm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I worship the ground that man walks on.
That's cool. Nice.
Just, yeah, I mean, he's the only pick player who's ever fooled me with his sound. I had no idea he was not a fingerstyle player.
Yeah.
Even for years after I played him, I used to listen to his bass lines before I even played bass. I like just zoned in on it and was, constantly listening to what he did. And to me, he's kind of the perfect rock and metal player, and that he can do things that are surprisingly risk breaking if you really have to sit down and play him. Songs like "I Don't Know" and "SATO" and things like that. He's just flying up and down the neck. The constant octave work is something I take all the time, as he would, to stay out of the harmony's way, just bopping octaves back and forth, but very back and forth, incredibly tight, always dead on, but still in the pocket.
So he was on Blizzard of Oz, Bark at the Moon? Those two?
He's on a lot more albums to me, and this is where I kind of can piss off a few people too. To me, he actually
Do it.
Yeah, he actually is Ozzy. He used to write the lyrics. He was the chief songwriter of the first albums.
Ah, okay.
He established who that was, and he's on later albums that people don't realize. "No More Tears" is him. "No Rest for the Wicked" is him. "Ultimate Sin" was him. I mean, like this gets into a lot of stuff with, obviously unscrupulous people in the Ozzy camp, but he would constantly be held to the point where he wasn't making a lot of money and then brought back in to make money and then screw them over again, then to be able to survive in between, you literally have to work for the person you're suing. And yeah, like probably one of the big moments of my bass life was I was doing instructional videos for a company for a little while back when we had VHS.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do one covering his style because we did a lot of in the style of type of things.
Sure.
And just Hail Mary pass, I emailed his management and said, hey, you know, I want to do a series on Bob, and I, you know, would love to just get a few insights or a couple of things if he wouldn't mind if I asked him, passed on a few questions. I get an email back about an hour later, and they said, Bob's going to call you, send your number. Once I was able to climb over the cloud of feces that had come out of me, get there, this guy called me from Australia and talked to me for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And I'm just sitting here on the phone, like literally levitating, like around my room. And he couldn't have been nicer or more generous or anything else. And I just, you know, I had to keep restraining myself. I'm just going like, you're the reason I'm who I am, man. Like,
I love you, man.
I used to have a radio that only had like one speaker left in it because the other was blown with a cassette in it. And I used to hide it under my pillow and put my ear down on it so I could listen to it at night. And my father would know I was still listening to bands when I was supposed to be in bed. I listened to your songs. You know,
Cool.
but yeah, getting to talk to him and getting insights into it, and it was definitely a high point for him to be as cool as he was. And he was like, nah, he goes, you know my style. He goes, I've talked to a few people who, you know, wanted to do something, and I'm not a real public guy like that. And he goes, but you get it.
So did it come to fruition? Like REH, DCI? What was the star level?
No, and that was due to the same people who were not being nice to him.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that got shut down, which that's actually going to reappear on my channel, which I have to be a little cautious of.
Careful about.
Got it.
But because I can't play any examples or I will get a takedown.
That's what I was, yeah.
So I'm going to have to perform everything myself in broken up snippets without the background music.
Like in the style of, you have to just be careful with.
Oh, I can say it, but the algorithm won't the algorithm won't catch it unless it closely enough matches the original recording. So I'll play it at a slightly different tempo, break it up into pieces, and I'm not going to have the guitar parts over it.
Wow. Man.
Well, you could do everything one string lower. Now you could do all the guitar parts on the 7th string, right?
I'll
Play it on the 5.
I'll go to a certain thing. I'm not going to mangle the man's music either.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, then I'll just make a video that goes, hey, want to see this? I'm on 3 other platforms. Go over there.
There you go. Did what was the video company? Was it one of the like DCI, REH? Was it one of those?
They were based out of the Valley. They were called MVP.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a couple of videos through them, and yeah, they basically just, after that one, decided, okay, we've been messed with enough, I guess, and they just literally folded and disappeared in the middle of the night.
Oh, man.
To avoid all the lawsuit crap and stuff.
That sucks. Oh, gross.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So,
Gross.
but I've always had it in the back of my head, and yeah, I would, even players that, you know, students that I talk to now and stuff, it's kind of funny, they'll go, I feel like I've got some technical ability, but and that's kind of one of my complaints about metal bass playing right now, is it seems very guitar oriented, that even when the bass isn't playing the guitar part, it sounds like a guitar part, just a different one.
Yeah.
And the guys will go like, and one of my best compliments, I guess I would have to take that I've gotten from the channel about my stuff, is they go, when I hear you, you sound like you're playing something different that makes sense with it. And it doesn't sound guitar-like.
Yeah.
And you know, I try and explain to them that, you know, you have to lean away from the guitars and listen more to the drums and become an integrating piece there. And I always point right back to him. I'm like, study the first 2 Ozzy albums, even if this is old man metal to you or whatever it is. These are the things that, I mean, he's playing underneath some of the most legendary guitar players ever. You know, you've got Randy Rhoads and Jakey Lee
Yeah.
and Zach Wilde. This guy still stands out without playing a single thing that they're playing. He never follows a riff.
Yeah.
Understand why he can do that, and that's your Yoda moment, you know? He's just phenomenal. So there's a lot of inspiration to be had there. Was that.
Cool.
And yeah, I think that would be my earliest things to do. A long drawn out thing was whenever I had that standout moment from a bassist with a legendary guitar player, and I realized this guy holds up with him.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
The other moment that kind of knocked me back a bit was just hearing Unchained from Van Halen the first time. You've got Eddie Van Halen playing one of the proto-metal riffs in history, this down-tuned, amazing, arena rock kind of thing.
Yeah.
As he's going through, the drums swell up, that bass hits and plays one note and blows Eddie like off to the other side of the mix. All you hear at that point is that thump, 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 thump. And I went,
Great song.
oh, that guy just wrecked Eddie Van Halen. How the hell did that happen? I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that comes in and plays one note and wrecks a guitar hero.
Yeah.
Like, that's my jam there.
That's a great riff, man. So good.
Yeah.
He's an unsung hero. Doesn't get enough credit.
Absolutely.
Michael Anthony,
Yep. Michael Anthony.
Yeah, Michael Anthony's unsung hero, and he's a killer, fabulous vocalist too, man. The guy can sing.
Yeah.
Singing those high parts, that was all him, right? Those super.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah.
Get a chance. There's a video of them from the Whiskey in the really early days doing On Fire.
Oh.
And
I'm on
you can clearly hear the separation of Michael Anthony, and it's like I can see his mouth moving, and then my cat going batshit, but I can't hear the actual note.
Yeah. Dude, I love his bass line on This Is Love. So This Is Love.
Oh yeah, Fair Warning album, another bass masterclass in how to handle. I mean, the first time I heard harmonics on bass
Yeah.
was in Dirty Movies, in the breakdown sections, and in the intro, him doing the kind of harmonic chords and things. I knew it was the bass, but I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, he definitely, that band was those guys. That was it, and it just made so much sense, and it was so fucking good.
Yeah,
So
there's
good,
no doubt about it. So, those would be kind of the formative and things, and then you get as you move and your taste change and things, you get new heroes along the way. I of course went through the big Getty stage, as I think everybody does, and
everybody our age, I think, did. Yeah.
I'm glad to see even new guys. That's been really kind of a cool thing. That one thing I'll give this generation of players that I think is very cool, at least a section of them, is that, when I came up, there was a lot of like, you didn't do what your parents did. There was this thing of, oh, well, that's older than 8 seconds, so I can't appreciate it. And there's a lot of that now.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of younger metal players that I'll turn them on to this stuff, or they'll hear it. And, I'll have guys coming in and go, how the hell does that part work in the middle of Free Will?
Yeah.
Like he's doing it like, why does it sound like chords and stuff, but there's not chords? And I'm like, oh, he's outlining a chord progression, but he's riffing all the way through it. Like, I want to learn how to do that. That's awesome. So that, they're realizing that there's something that got sidelined along the way that they have appreciation for. So that's been really cool.
That's cool.
Being able to see that, it's really encouraging to me. And there's new players out there that are really doing interesting stuff, I think. But that's, kind of part of the problem with music now too, is that there's just so much out there, just hearing through the noise. Now that we don't really have labels in a conventional sense, as much as it was horrible to have gatekeepers, but at least gatekeepers, brought things down to you could kind of get around and find some stuff. Now it's just this fire hose of anybody who can fake playing guitar for 6 seconds can put out an album and blast you with it, and it's hard to find who the real cats are.
It's
a tough time to step out. It really is. People are like, oh, we can put out the technology, we can put everything out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to know what it was like on the other end, and it wasn't as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
Nope. Wasn't great, but it was a different kind of suck. And one
it was a different kind of suck, Hey, before we wrap up with other socials and get into all this stuff,
Mhm.
we have a few questions. And I think Steve's looking at the board for the questions. I can tell what you're doing, Mr. Arajo.
I have a board. I do.
I-
Want me to ask them all, or
No, John needs to ask a question. John has the board too. John has it right there.
dude, do you have the
Don't have
board?
a board.
You
No.
have the board?
John, I was trying to make you look like you had it together.
John's
You're
actually
supposed to play
been
with me
watching
on this,
like
John.
Blade
Just
Runner.
because I have the the collegiate
Yeah.
vest doesn't mean I have any sort of planning or things
Here,
put together.
hold on.
But I do remember one.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Steve's going to show you the board. I gave you too much credit.
I remember one. So
No, I'm not going to show you the board. I am actually.
all right, we're gonna wait for Steve. So Rodney,
Yes.
live or dead, who would you like to share a meal with?
Wow.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Go ahead. Talk amongst yourselves. Nothing to see here, folks.
I got to go get mine now.
I know. That's why I'm doing it. Do you have it?
Yeah, I'm missing a joke here somewhere.
Well, yeah. Tony's going to go get his.
Okay.
It's because.
I were dead.
Oh, yeah, meal. Sorry, the meal. The meal with. Yes.
Yep.
I would probably have to go with Leonardo da Vinci.
Nice.
I like it.
I mean, as someone who could talk on every matter of intellectual and artistic endeavor.
Mine's supposed to be a Christmas gift, so I'm not supposed to open this up.
Oh, well, then by all means, do that.
But I bought it.
Rodney, Tony's gone, full force with cycling, and I've been a cyclist like
Oh, okay.
my life and everything. So this is for Tony. I put this on.
I figured it's usually dealing with Tony, you need to wear a helmet.
I do in my.
I'm ready.
Because us bass players, we always have to wear our helmets just in case. Okay, so Tony, Rodney said that Leonardo da Vinci would be the person that he would choose to have a meal with. Pretty cool. I like it.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
All right, so you want me to ask the next one?
Yes, please.
All right, Rodney, living or dead, who would you like to study with?
Ooh.
Have studied with. It can be living or dead. Obviously, we're talking music, so yeah,
Mm.
have a lesson with, study with, pick their brain.
The reason that one's tough is because I feel like I'm such a psycho that I've analyzed most of my favorite players so to death that I think I've kind of pulled them apart. Not that I can do what they do, but I understand it.
Mm.
I would probably go after more someone whose craft or orchestration would be.
Okay.
Wow, it's a tough.
Yeah.
I'd have to go after Beethoven.
Beethoven.
Nice.
I feel like he kind of had a rock and roll attitude about incredible composition. And when you have, somebody who values
Mm-hmm.
note over flawless performance,
Sure.
even in his era,
Wow.
kind of like that. And I read a couple of biographies from him, and I like his habits and the way he did things, like taking long walks and writing and just thinking. And he would just go for hours and hours and come home. And I do the same thing myself. I go for long walks and just constantly voice record my thoughts while I go. I feel like that's a mental kinship, not anything comparable, but just I get it, that need to just kind of go way inside there and be away from things. So yeah, it would have to be Beethoven, I guess.
All right, cool.
Rodney, too, just real quick before the last one, I always argued with people that I felt like Beethoven and Mozart, those guys were really just one distortion pedal away from creating metal way before it was.
Oh yeah, and then Bach was death metal before it was, basically. Or you could even look at it as you have Mozart and Beethoven. It's like Lennon and McCartney. You've got the happier dude and the more bummer dude. And
Right.
they could have joined the same band and eventually collapse over a howling woman. So
That's cool. Nice. All right, I like that. Tony tapped out on the helmet wearing.
I did tap out of the helmet wearing. Yeah,
I'm keeping mine on it because
I
it
tapped
may
out.
get dangerous. May get dangerous. Rodney, last question. Living or dead, musician that you would have liked to jam with?
ooh. I don't know if I could nail that down to one. That'd be too tough because of. Yeah.
What's the first one that comes to your mind then?
Yeah, there you go.
I would. Drummers, it would be a tie between living Mickey D.
Okay.
Played for King Diamond and now for Motorhead, and he has probably the best metal swing I've ever heard.
Okay.
He can take a real pocket feel swing and do it at an incredible tempo.
Wow.
And some of the most innovative drum lines I've ever heard in metal came out of him early on. And the other would have to be Neil Peart. It's just, he was formative for me. So, I think more, and I have a very short story on that one I'll hit you with, where I got to be an idiot with the other guy I'll name. I would probably, again, I'd want to step out of something I did without going too far, and I would have to go Alex Lifeson.
Nice.
Because he uses texture a lot more than most guitar players I've ever played with.
That's cool.
And he paints a bit more with guitar, these huge chiming parts. I think the way he formulates his chords is really undercredited. He does inversions and things. You can tell he's had to think it out to be able to fill space around Geddy's really movement-oriented parts and things. And he's done, again, a lot of formative lines, but to me, he's a fantastic balance of emotion and innovation. Like he's a very get into the details, technical type of person, massive, rigs he used to play with and everything, but he's an intuitive player. One of my top 3 guitar solos of all time is his solo on La Villa Strangiato from Exit Stage Left. To me, it is the perfect solo. It starts slowly, builds to it's like a symphonic piece, builds to a climax, then lands and slowly takes you back into the song. I'm like, that wasn't a solo. That was
that's
a composition.
So good. Yeah. That solo is so good. It really is.
Yeah. And cool. I don't think it's one of the rare times too when you hear something on a live recording that just destroys the original album. Like he given his moment to completely put himself into the instrument rather than trying to get that take, he just showed himself as just an incredible level of just beauty in his note choice.
I love it. That's awesome.
So, be that. I think I've lost audio on Steve there.
Can you hear me? One,
oh,
two,
I can
three.
now. There we go.
All right. It was the helmet. Sorry, I apologize.
Yes.
Dude, that's awesome. Great. I love it, man.
We haven't heard those people mentioned.
Yeah, I love it.
So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Ronnie, where can everyone find you?
They can find me in here almost all the time. But
all right.
The sex room. Yeah.
In the Amsterdam sex room.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to put your address down there. People can just stop by anytime. Just check out your place.
Oh, please do. Yeah, welcome to the Haunted Mansion. But just Rodney McG on YouTube.
Okay.
And also RodneyMcG.com. Cool. I like to keep things simple. Also, the same thing on Facebook. It's one advantage of a simple moniker is it's easy to search for.
Cool. I'll put the links under your face there, and I'll we'll have all that stuff there so people can.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thanks
man. Of course. Yeah.
So we're gonna all stay on and say goodbye, but we're gonna all stay on and talk shit for a second.
Yes, we say goodbye
without helmets, with no helmets.
Yeah. Men without helmets.
Men without helmets.
It's our Slipwave revival band.
So Rodney McG, thank you for joining the Big Bottom crew. Like Tony said, we're signing off for public, but we're staying on to talk shit. So thank you for being here, and we're saying bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.